Hello, Widowhood. Our guest today is Mr. James D. Price. He actually lost his wife the same year that Mark died. We connected, saw him on YouTube, and as you know, I am unfortunately, but always looking for men to be able to share their voice in this conversation. We talked a long time, and that is the type of conversation I want you to have. I want my conversations with my guests to be like two people sitting in the front room talking about a shared experience so you can find encouragement. Let's get into the conversation now.
Many people talk about the ups and downs of married life, but no one really prepares you for life after your spouse passes away. Welcome to Widowhood Real Talk with Tina, a safe place for widows, widowers, and their friends and family to talk about love and loss. Find comfort as you listen to honest conversations between Tina and invited guests who've experienced the loss of their forever partner. Share their stories of love, grief, and healing. You are not alone in this journey. Join today's episode and discover a wealth of resources and learn how to connect with others who are traveling the same path. This is Widowhood Real Talk with Tina.
Hello, Widowhood. Our guest today is Minister James Price. Welcome to the Widowhood.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me. I appreciate this. Thank you so much.
Oh, like everybody else, not a fan that we're having this conversation. And you were in the Widowhood before we had this discussion, but just now connecting with our community.
Yeah.
So James,
And
where are you at right now?
I'm actually at home. I'm here in my home in Inkster, Michigan.
Okay.
Yes, it's nice. It's nice and hot outside. I just got finished watering my grass, and now I'm in here talking to you guys. I'm excited to be here.
Okay, you must have a cool because that looks like a whole sweatshirt you have on right there.
And, it is a sweatshirt. I'm a huge sweatshirt fan. This is my uh, what is it? Rapper, actor, slash often says entrepreneur because I am an entrepreneur. So
Oh, okay. Entrepreneur doing what?
I have a small marketing business. I advertise online for small local businesses, and they pay me a fee every single month for advertising on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. I do that for them, so
Okay.
they pay me for that, and I help bring them customers. So
So how did you get into that? Is that something you've done for a long time or?
no, actually, I got into it because I was looking at videos on YouTube, and I saw an ad for these guys, these two guys probably around my age, talking about anybody can do this. They do it. They make all this money, and I just said, oh, whatever. That's everybody says they make all this money, so I just continued to skip the ad and look at the video I was trying to get to, and then one day I just looked at the ad. I said, wow, man, this might really be something. So that's why I decided to just get into it. It cost me a lot of money to to get into this program, but I did it, and it paid off. I took the time to just learn everything that I could learn about the business, about marketing, because I wasn't into marketing, didn't know much about it. I knew what the word meant, but I didn't know much about actually getting into marketing. But that's what I do, and it's paying off. So I'm grateful.
Okay. What did you do before this?
Now, I was a manager at
Okay.
Walmart manager. That was, yeah, uh, that's a lot of work. It doesn't seem like it may be a lot, but for people on the outside looking, not me on the inside looking out, um, you know, we couldn't understand how people can't understand how much work we have to do because people will come in and, being a manager, I probably got cussed out at least once a day, sometime more than that. And, people weren't happy with, you know, certain things that was going on in the store. So they would call me, and we all had these walkie talkies, and they called me JP at work. And they would say, JP, that, it's a customer up here. They're upset. They want to talk to a manager. And I would say, well, where's your team lead manager? They can take care of it. And they say, no, they want to talk to someone above the team leads. They want to talk to a coach manager. And then I would have to go up front and just get cussed out. And, it's like you expect it. You expect to go
Mm,
for someone to just not be happy with us not returning their item or giving them the full. They would, if you don't have the receipt, we cannot give you the full refund in cash. We have to put it on a gift card. You can only use the gift card in the store, but people would really be upset with that. I'm thinking because they needed the money, so they would
mm.
be upset with that. So it happens at times. So we got used to it. It is what it is. That's retail. So
So how did Minister Price reconcile with Walmart customers? How did that go?
yeah, well, the minister came in because what happened is I one day after this was maybe 6 months after my wife passed, and shortly, like maybe 4 months after my third daughter passed. I was working on some videos because I felt that the Lord wanted me to do it, but I thought it was some crazy idea. Said, no, this is just me, being crazy. I'm not supposed to help people. I need help myself. I need help dealing with this. So why would God want me to help others? And I need help. So what happened is I was looking at um, the gentleman's YouTube channel, and his name is Minister Barton Aaron Porter. So I said, "Wow, I really like his videos. I'm learning a lot." And so I reached out to him, and he has all these like thousands of subscribers. I said, "There's no way he's going to respond or talk to me or help me." And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. He reached out and talked to me, mentored me, and helped me a lot with my YouTube channel. And then that's when he started talking to me saying, well, you're a minister because we're all ministers of Christ. We all supposed to spread the gospel. And that's exactly what I started to do. And then I accepted it. I prayed about it and I accepted that. So that's what I started calling myself, Minister Price. Now I have a church home and I'm not a minister at church, but I do work in the ministry.
Okay.
Uh, but that's what I call myself on my YouTube channel, because a lot of people, even at church, come to me and say they saw my video, it was really good, and it's really good that I'm doing this, trying to help people, and that's my calling, to just help others, and um, I really do appreciate the Lord using me to try to help as many people as I possibly can deal with loss of a spouse, because I understand all too well how tough it is to deal with that.
Thank you for clarifying that. And I am so sorry for your wife and your third
Yeah,
child that has died in this situation that you are leaning in and trusting God. Would you mind sharing a little bit about, before
yeah.
going into their death, who your wife was, your love story, and how you all met?
And now we met through my cousin.
Okay.
My cousin, she her and my late wife, they were like best friends. Like they were best of friends, and they were college roommates at Eastern Michigan. And
So she
my
had all the tea. Okay, so she knew
yeah,
what. Okay.
yeah. So so my cousin said that family calls me DeAndre because that's my middle name.
Okay.
So my cousin was like, DeAndre, what's going on with you, and are you dating anyone? And and me being young, I was like in my mid 20s, and I'm like, I don't need help finding a girl. Come on now, this is,
Got
you know,
this.
come on, I got this. What are you talking about? Like, I don't need any.
Right.
So she was like, well, I'm sure you don't need help, but I got it's a young lady that I know that I'm like, we're best friends, and I think you guys will be great together. And I said, well, I'm not really looking. I'm young. I'm a bachelor. I'm just trying to just live my
Single and
life.
mixing.
Yeah, I got my little 1 bedroom apartment. I was excited. I'm a manager at the Home Depot. I'm like, man, I'm doing pretty good for myself. So so she was like, well, at least just take her number. I was like, okay, I'll take her number, and I'll give her a call at some point. So make a long story shorter, I end up giving her a call, and we clicked right away. And we
Oh,
talked. Yeah, we talked on the phone for like 3 weeks straight. We talked on the phone for like 3 weeks, and it was even times where I said, okay, I have to get off this. I have to get up and go to work. And the more I have to be to work at 6, and it would be like 2 in the morning. And she was like, you know what? I have to get up at 6 as well because we both had to go to work. So we would go to sleep probably around 2 because we were on the phone so long. So we talked on the phone like that for 3 weeks. And then we finally set up an opportunity for us to meet face to face. And, you know, we finally met. And I even remember where we met. We met at Chili's, the restaurant Chili's. We met there.
oh yeah, I
And we
remember
went
when
in.
I was in college, we would get the big tins with the nachos in there. That
Yeah,
would be like some of our food for the week to study food. So yeah, I've done some chilies.
yeah. So we decided to meet at Chili's. So we went to Chili's. And in the moment I saw her, at this time we didn't have FaceTime, so we could look and see each other. So I knew it was her. As soon as I walked in, I was like, "That's her." And then I didn't know it at the time, but God was telling me that's going to be your wife.
Mm.
Like, wow. I was like, I'm thinking that's just me thinking. So I'm like, I don't even know this woman. Like, what am I talking about? That's what I was thinking to myself. But later on, I realized it was God. Like, that's going to be your wife. And of course, I didn't tell her that. I just kept it
Yeah, because
cool.
that would have been creepy. Like
Yeah,
first
that
date,
definitely
like
would have been creepy. Yes, that would have been very creepy. So I kept it cool, and I just,
that's good.
yeah. So we just, and I was like, Janika, I'm James. She was like, oh, she's like, hey, how you doing? So we hugged and we talked and we sat down because she, like I said, she was there first, and I wasn't late. I was on time. She
So
just was there
you
early.
saw me going, so was she a timely woman or were you kind of late?
Yeah,
So okay, good points because you don't want to be late on the first meetup.
yeah,
No.
exactly. Yeah, I
Good,
was on
good.
time, and I thought I would get there before her, but she was
Okay.
there before me. So, uh,
Nice.
yeah, so we talked, and we had a nice time. We had I guess we would say kind of like lunch because it was right after she got off work. So we enjoyed our time. But then after that, something crazy happened. So what she did is I kind of scared her away because she saw that I had tattoos and I'm from Detroit, and she thought I was like this hood guy, and she's used to guys in church, and because she grew up in the church, and she's used to guys in suits and ties and stuff like that. So she thought, she was like, oh, hold on, I don't know about, I like him, he's a cool guy, but I don't know about this guy. Because like I said, she saw I have a couple tattoos that I got when I was younger, and she was like, I don't know about this. So we talked about it. We decided to just back off from each other. And I called my cousin, told her everything. She was like, no, no, something is not right. She's a great girl. You a great guy. I don't know what's going on. So 6 months went past after I met her, and we talked on the phone, and then one day, you know, I started like talking to another young lady, and one day, I got a phone call. Now, because I was so upset that she decided to back off, I like erased her phone number out my phone. So I just was like,
We have all done that. It's like I'm going to
yeah,
scorch the earth. It's like you are
exactly.
out of here, like boom, nothing.
I was like, forget her. It's time to move on.
Right.
I'm good. If she go do her thing, I'll do mine. And
Back to
yeah,
mingling and mixing. I was good in the
yeah,
first place.
exactly. That's what I was thinking, right? So when I one day out the blue, I just got this phone call like 6 months later, and once again that voice that I didn't realize it was God at the time, because like I said, I grew up going to church, but once I got older, I didn't have to go. My mother couldn't say you have to go. I said I'm going to do my own thing. I'm good. I don't have to go to church. I got my
Mhm.
own apartment now. So I was drawing closer. I was coming back to my roots of growing up in church, and prayer, and just trusting and believing God. So that voice again, but I didn't realize it at the time, said, that's Janika. And I said, what? I said, okay, whatever. So I'm thinking it's myself. And I answered, and I said, hello. And she was like, James? She said, how you doing, James? Do you know who this is? Now I knew it was her immediately, right?
But
But
you
I
had to play
played,
cool. You had to be like,
yeah,
ah.
yeah, I had to play it all. I was like, is this Rita? That's Rita is my cousin who hooked us up. I had to play it off. I said, is this Rita? She was like, no, it's Janika. And I was like, oh, I was like, hey, how you doing? And that's we just took it from there. And it started back up and you know, we just from there just fell in love, you know.
Hmm.
And what happened is, you know, she's more of a traditional woman. So what and I'm more of like a street guy, you know. I wasn't a traditional man. I was just a regular old heathen, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
But
Okay. So hold on for a second.
uh,
Let's unpack what those words mean. When you
mm,
say you're a street guy and she was
yeah,
used to something else, what are the characteristics? How did that show up?
I was a guy who would, you know, I was always a hard worker and someone who done the right thing. Like I would just work. I wouldn't do what some of my friends were doing. I had friends that were drug dealers, doing stuff they shouldn't have been doing. And, you know, I always, even though they were my friends, I stayed away from that part of their lives. And I didn't allow that in my life. But I knew that some of the things that they were doing was wrong. But I understood because we were living and poor and in the inner city of Detroit, and it was tough. Um, I felt that it's still a way you can just work hard and you don't have to do the same things that people before you did. You can still work hard and get out of that. And you know, even though a lot of my friends were like that, I just couldn't do that because I believe that God had His hands on me, even when I didn't realize it. And you know, most of my friends ended up in prison. Some of them were murdered, and I'm just grateful that I didn't fall into that same trap. So
Hmm.
she could recognize that as we talked. So she thought that, like I said, she thought I was this just this street guy. And you know, so she saw my tattoos and I didn't have on a suit. And I thought I was I thought I was nice. I had a nice little polo button up. I was like, okay, got my polo shirt on. I'm good. And but she to her it was still like a street guy.
So
But
you bring up a really good point. If we can pause
yeah,
for a second.
yeah,
I'm from Chicago, south
yeah,
side of the city. I can recognize and I can connect with the lifestyle that you're talking about.
yeah,
And until you know it's any different, you don't realize what that looks like because that's what you're embedded in.
yes,
Until you're outside of that circumstance that you're
mm,
in with the same people, the same environment as you talk about. You thought you came are correct, and there's a whole nother level out there you didn't even know exists because it wasn't part of your world.
yeah,
When I left and went to the military and traveled, that was an opportunity where I started to become exposed to the world outside of the south side of Chicago. Experienced also the same things as far as friends being killed, making choices that had rippling effects in life and really wasn't the impact. Our dad was a police officer, so
mm,
there was a lot of hard steering in
yeah,
regards to that as far as which way needing to go, but it is something. But I think for me, what I found, and I don't know for you, I think after being brought up in the city, I can easier adjust to a more relaxed way of life than someone coming
yes,
from that relaxed way to try to embed themselves into that city environment. There are so many resilient type skills that you get from surviving a city life that just doesn't come any other way.
mm, absolutely. Oh my goodness, you know, I remember I was talking to my late wife, and I told her, I said, you know, I grew up tough. You know, it was tough. And, you know, my mother she was a single mother. I had 5 kids she had to raise on her own. And, you know, because even though my siblings and we have a different father, I'm the oldest, and, you know, I have a different father from my siblings. Um, but what happened is my siblings, their father was married to my mother, but he decided to leave. And
Mm.
he never paid child support, never, helped take care of my siblings. So my mother, it was a tough time for her. And, she worked hard and bust her butt. And, you know, I was telling my late wife, I said, what, there was a time that my family, our water, lights, and gas was off at the same time.
Wow. And it's
That was
cold in
something,
Michigan.
yes, it is. Yeah. And that was something she couldn't relate to. Even though she grew up in the city of Detroit as well, her father worked for the city. He was a supervisor for the city making six figures. So he made good money. He was able to take care of all of them. So they didn't experience the things that I did, even though they lived in a nicer area, bigger houses, you know. She didn't experience that. They never wanted for anything. So there's just some stuff she just couldn't relate to. So, once I started telling her my story, she was just blown away, like, wow, I can't believe it.
Hmm.
And that's when she started to see that even though I grew up in that environment, I wasn't, I was going to allow that environment to shape the type of man that I am and I will become. So,
That is huge. Thank you for sharing that because so many times people are, they just say you're this type of person because where you grew up. You may tell somebody where you grew up in Michigan, and they automatically assume all these different things instead of taking the time to get to see who this person is as an individual.
yeah.
That must have just changed your heart to see somebody seeing you transparent
So,
through everything else. Because oftentimes, and just being a Black man in America,
yes.
automatically people have p- predisposed ideas as far as who you are instead of having the conversation.
Yes. And you know what? It got rough for us in Detroit. So my mom said, you know what, I have to get my kids out of the city of Detroit because I was getting into trouble, dealing with some of my friends. I would just be with them and they would get into trouble. So I would get into trouble as well. So I said, my mother said, I gotta get my kids out of here. So we moved, she packed us up and we moved to Livonia, Michigan. And Livonia, Michigan is just like the suburbs, right?
It's
It's
like I don't
probably,
even know what that is. It's like, well, who what?
yeah, yeah, Livonia, Michigan is like probably like 90% white at the time.
Okay.
And so what happened is, it was a culture shock for me. It really was a culture shock. But growing up, you know, in the 80s and in the 90s, you look at TV and it's like you see all these cartoons and all of these commercials, and it's all white kids. So you say, okay, wow, it's going to be so much better in Livonia than it is in Detroit because, we, I'm going to be honest and transparent. You look at that and you say, white people are so much nicer than black people. They're just so nice. So, because I'm looking at TV and they're all nice and happy on TV, I'm like, man, this is going to be way better in Livonia than in Detroit. So I was just excited to be moving from Detroit to Livonia. And it was a culture shock when I got there. And I said, wow, this is much different than what I expected because, that's when I discovered and learned about racism because I didn't know. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, no,
You
no.
about to
I
say?
wanted to pause and just pick that up a little bit.
Yeah.
One, the power of what television can
Yeah.
do in dropping a seed. That
Yeah.
the perception these particular people are nicer just because of how they're perceived on television,
Hmm.
where the narrative, unfortunately for African Americans, always has a negative connotation
Yeah.
to it.
Hmm.
The spin is different. If they find you, they find the worst picture.
Yeah.
The situation is always spun, and you have to work harder. So you grow up with, even sometimes I think about the idea that the good guy is always dressed in white clothing and the
Yeah.
bad guy is always dressed in black clothing.
Yeah.
And you grow up as a young black person with
Hmm.
those things resonating in the back of your mind. You have the positive coming from maybe somebody from church or someone in the neighborhood, but
Yeah.
those other things you are constantly battling with. So as a young child, we have been manipulated by television, advertisement, or other different things to have this thought process. So, and I want to say that because I don't want somebody to go, well, why would they think that? I cannot imagine just about most Black people growing up not having to work harder, struggle harder to present yourself better and to be seen for who you are versus what television will dictate that you are. So it makes sense that you would think, I'm going to go where it's nicer at because the people are nicer. They
Mm,
show them happier. So I could see that concept.
yeah, exactly. Because, I wasn't, I was just raised that just people are people. Um, some people are nice, some people are bad. And I never looked at race because I never had to. Like I said, I grew up around all Black people,
Hmm.
Latino people, because I was born in Southwest Detroit, where it's mostly all, Mexican, Puerto Rican, Dominicans. That's where I was born. And so I was only around people that look like me.
Same.
So,
And my late husband was Caucasian. So
yeah,
not speaking from a racist perspective, whether being all Black or all white, but
yeah,
it's just things as you grow up that you see based on only being around one particular
yeah,
culture. And
hmm,
then your horizons are broadened as you move or different things
yeah.
happen.
Hmm.
So just knocking down some preconceptions as far as who people are. So thank you for that part of the
Oh
conversation.
no, no problem, no problem at all. Yeah, so coming to Livonia was, like I said, it was definitely a culture shock, and and I never could see it. I couldn't see it coming. Some of the stuff that happened to me while I was there. I remember I remember having in one of my classes, I think it was English, and we always had to read a book every single week. We read a book in the class, and the teacher would allow us to. Uh, she would go from desk to desk, and everybody would have to read a paragraph or two paragraphs or whatever. And the books were always about um, racist past and the South and stuff like that. And these books would have the N word in them, and and
Mm.
this one young lady, she said that, why are we doing this? And the teacher would say, what are you talking about? She's like, don't you see? Because I was the only Black kid in the class, and she would say, don't you see James right here? Why are we saying this N word? Don't you think that's offensive to him? And then some of the kids would agree with her. Then you would have some that wouldn't. They was like, it's just literature. We're just reading. What are you talking about? I'm sure this doesn't bother James. Like, but it did bother me. I wasn't saying anything, but it did bother me. And then when I didn't say it did bother me until the teacher asked me. The teacher asked me, was like, does this bother you? Because this is just literature. I don't see how it could, but I just want to ask you, does it bother you? And I told her, yes, it does bother me. And so she just like kind of like blew that off, and like she was like, we're going to keep reading. If it bothers you, you can go talk to your counselor to get you into another class or something. I said, wow. I said, I'm saying, okay, well, whatever. So they kept
you
on
you bring up a good point because
reading.
and I know we're not on, but when you are the person that's being victim, it takes somebody else that is not in the same
Yeah.
space with you to say something.
Hmm.
Because the person is being victimized, they get brushed off and someone will just belittle how you feel. But
Yeah.
it took the people in your class that were not in that position to be able to stand up and say something and be your voice. And
Yeah.
that is frustrating when so as a young man, you're stifling how you feel. And if it wasn't for someone else saying something in
Mhm.
that space, it would not have been recognized. And that
Absolutely.
happens still today in situations in workplaces. If
Mhm.
someone that's not in that place that's being victimized doesn't say something, it will go unnoticed.
Absolutely. And the young lady that stood up and said that, she stood up for me after class. I went to her and I told her, I said, what, I appreciate what you did. You didn't have to do that, because I knew, even at my young age, I think I was like 14 or 15, maybe 16. I said, I recognize that she would get backlash because of that eventually.
Mm,
Because I could see the division in the class. Like half the class was with her, the other half wasn't. So once I saw that, I said, okay, they're gonna give her a hard time just for helping for saying that for me on my behalf. So it was little things like that that would happen. I would get harassed by the police.
mm,
Um, Walking in the neighborhood, I would get harassed because we lived in apartments. We lived in these apartment complexes, but there was a school. If I crossed the street and crossed 8 Mile Road and just um, walked all the way down through the neighborhood, there was a basketball rim, a middle school. So I would be there playing basketball, and because like nobody played basketball out there in the suburbs, like it was like nobody wanted to play basketball. So I just was like, okay, I'll just go play basketball, and I kept seeing this older lady. She kept walking to her window, looking out the window, and then I saw her come to the window with her phone. And then
mm.
she was pointing at me while she was talking. I said, "Oh, is this lady calling the police or something?" So I was like, "Okay, let me get out of here." So I started jogging to get back home because I knew that she was calling the police. And sure enough, she did call the police. And the police like swooped on me so fast and
Mm,
jumped out of the car, pulled their guns on me, and
mm.
and they was like, "Get down on the ground." And I'm like, "I didn't do anything." They was like, "Why are you running? What are you doing?" I was like, I was at the school playing basketball. I was like, I was so scared. Like, I
Mm,
was, yeah, I'm about to die. Like, that's what I was thinking.
right.
Yeah. And I told them, I said, I'm just playing basketball at the school. And they was like, we got a, they said, I forgot, they said, we got a call that there was a young black teen trying to break into the school. And I said, no, I was at the middle school, but I was playing basketball. I didn't do anything. I didn't hurt anybody. I didn't talk to anybody. They patted me down. So they said,
Mm.
"Do you have any drugs or weapons on you?" And I'm like, no. I'm like, I'm just a kid. Like, come on, man. I don't have a beard or nothing yet. I'm just a kid. And and they was like, well, let me see your driver's license. I'm like, I don't even have a driver's license. Like, I don't have anything.
I'm a child.
Yeah, I'm like, I'm really like a kid, like a child. I'm probably like old as your child or something. So, um, that was just like traumatizing to me when that happened. And after that, it was like, okay, I want to leave this place. I want to go back to the hood. I want to go back to the
Was
inner city.
familiar. So those are
Yeah,
the type of stories you're telling to your late wife, and now she's starting to understand who
yeah,
you are, and you
exactly.
let her into your past and things you've experienced. It's not just I grew up in the hard part,
Yeah,
but these are the things that happened to me
yeah.
that
Mhm.
created this disposition. Wow.
And you
How
know
did it
what?
feel to let her in and tell her all those different things?
To tell her those things, it was like I've never talked to anyone about it. So it was kind of like it was almost like therapy
Mm,
because I never talked to anyone about it. I just all this time just kept that stuff to myself. So being able to talk to her about any and everything, it
mm,
felt great. And and she would do the same for me because she would tell me some of the things that she would go through and she'd been through in her life. And by me opening up and telling her about some of the things that I've seen, some of the things I've done or been through, um, she felt comfortable to open up to me, but she still didn't would think what was she thought that it would change my perception of her. She was like,
mm,
some of the things that she did when she was a kid, she said that she didn't want to tell me, but because she thought I would change my perception of her. I would love her less.
mm,
I said, no, like, no way. I want our lines of communication to be open for you to come to me about any and everything. I don't care about your past. I don't care about any of that. Right now is what matters to me. Because right now is the only thing that's promised to us. We can't hope for um, well, I guess we can't hope for tomorrow, but we don't know if we're going to make it there. Because I remember reading in the Bible in the book of James, chapter 4, verses 14, 15, and 16, where God was telling James, like, your life is not promised to you. You're here for a moment. You don't know what tomorrow holds. Your life is like a vapor. You can be here one moment and go on the next. So
Mm,
instead of saying what we're going to do, we should be saying, if it's the will of God, I'll do this
yes.
or I'll do that. So, I told her, look, just, don't ever worry about that. I'm never going to look down on you. I don't care about anything except right now. So our lines of communication was open, and we were each other's therapist. Um, you
Hmm.
know, we held each other accountable for everything.
Okay.
And I'm just, that, like, just being in a marriage, a good marriage. We were in a
Wait, wait,
good
wait, wait. How long did y'all date before it turned into a marriage? Thank you. I was like, you just
marriage.
you just dropped that word on us.
Yeah.
You didn't take us there.
But we actually dated for 2 years.
Okay.
Um, and I drew close to her parents. I drew close to her siblings. Um,
How'd you
and
ask her? How did that go?
oh, now how I asked her now. Now she was a singer. She was a
Okay.
singer. She could sing, and she loved Motown. She loved the Temptations and the Supremes and all of that. She loved. It was before our time, but she loved that music. And then this is, of course, we're from Motown in Detroit, and the Motown Museum is here. And her sister said, "You know what, James? You should propose at Motown." And I was like, "You know what? Let's do it. Let's do that." So
Oh, so everybody else knew but her. Okay.
yeah, she was the only one who didn't know, right?
Okay.
I said, "Okay, well, let's do that." Because actually, I went to my pastor, well, our pastor. We both was at the same church, and I said, "You know what? Maybe I can, like." I told him what I wanted to do. I said, "Look, I want to pose in front of the family, just her family, my family. We all come together, and we're always together, so she won't even have a clue that I'm going to be proposing." And
Okay.
he told me, "No, no, no. This should be more intimate." He's like, "You should be more intimate with her instead of like doing it in front of everybody." Just, and of course, I didn't agree with him because I knew what I wanted to do. But I said, okay,
That's a
okay,
whole conversation about don't ask your pastor something if you really don't want the
exactly.
answer versus ask the question if you're gonna take that. We're just gonna skip right over that. But yeah, that's the whole
Yeah,
thing right
yeah. And I was trying to hold on to protocol. So I went and asked him, and I said, okay, I'm never doing that again. But I went on and listened, and I told my family, I told her family, uh, because they knew what I wanted to do. But then I said, well, I talked to pastor, and he said, no, no, let's do it this way. And then some of my family was like, well, why you listen to him? Like, just do it, you know. And I said, well, that's the way we do it. So I went on and did it.
there. That
Listened to,
respect, honor that.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, respected that. And I set it up with her sister. And I even think to really set her off, like really give her no clue. I think I started like a small argument in the car when we first got there, just so she would have no clue. I was
Oh
like, I,
wow.
I was like, I gotta start an argument. I gotta do something. Like, I gotta be in my feelings or something. I gotta do something. So I started a little argument. So she was like, whatever, like kind of upset with me.
Now you got her a little salty.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, she was a little salty towards me, but I knew, I was like, it's all gonna work out. So what happened is the family, of course, they just met up there. So while we were walking through the museum, seeing all the sights and the sounds, and seeing where the Temptations recorded "My Girl" and all, it was just awesome. It was an awesome experience. Um, right before we came, we were in the bookstore to buy some memorabilia, and I was like, okay, this is the time I'm going to do it now, because all of them are outside. They were texting me while we were
Oh,
there.
okay, I say because if she would have saw them inside, that would have been kind of
Yeah,
awkward. Okay,
yeah.
they were outside.
So they
Okay.
all outside in front of the museum. Like, it was like 20 people, 30 people, or something like that. They were all out there. And then her sister texted me, said, okay, everybody is here. So we're all outside. We got balloons. We're waiting on you guys.
Mm-hmm.
And then I said, oh man, okay. Then we got to the store. I said, okay, this is it. So when I think I honestly I forgot exactly what I said, or how I did it because I was so nervous. I was like the most nervous I've ever been in my life, right? But I did have the ring in my pocket, and I was so nervous. Oh my goodness! And and she was buying something, and she was talking to the cashier, and that's when I said, "Okay, it's time now." So I got on my knees, got on one knee, and I pulled the ring out, and then two of the other workers, you know how women back up and cover their mouth like that. So they did that. And she looked at them and she turned around and saw me. And then she just was like, hold on, James, what are you doing? Oh no, what are you? And then she like start hyperventilating. So that's when I pulled the ring out. And I can't, I'm telling you, I cannot remember exactly what I said, but I believe I said, Janika, her last name was Brickerson.
Okay.
Said, I love you with all my heart. You are the woman that God made just for me. And I want you to say yes and be my wife. I want you to marry me and make me the happiest man on this earth.
Hmm.
And she was like crying and she barely could get it out, but she was like, yes, yes. I'm like, okay, yes. She said yes. Ooh, man, I was so nervous. But
Were
she
you
said
nervous
yes.
like you thought she wouldn't say yes?
No, no, I knew she would say yes, but it was just I was so nervous, and in my mind I wanted to say so much more than that, but that's all
Okay.
I could get out. I was going to say all type of stuff I was thinking before, but
Right.
nothing would come out. So I just went with what I could remember,
Yes.
and I
Will you
said
marry me? That needs to come at the end.
yes. I was like, "Will you marry me? Make me the happiest man on earth?" I was able to get that out, and
Right.
and then she, she hugged me and she was excited. She kissed me, and we went outside, and that's when like everybody was out there, like
Right.
out there cheering, screaming, hollering,
Hmm.
balloons, flowers everywhere. And she was like, "What is going on, Mike?" She couldn't believe it. So, and then they recorded everything. They put it on YouTube, everything. I'm like, wow. So everybody got to see it, and
Oh wow.
it was
Do you
just a
have is that on your page, on your channel,
you,
the
you know
videos of
it's
that? You have to get that.
it's not on my page. It's on my sister's page.
Okay.
It's on her page, and she tried to send it to me, but somehow they wasn't able to share it with me or something
Okay,
like that.
if you can, like, you know how to share a YouTube, if you
Yeah.
can get the link to that, then we can put that in the blog. I'm sure people would
Okay.
love
Oh
to
yeah.
see that. And then
I
we
would.
can just get the link and we can put it there and they can jump right to it and see it. That would
Okay.
be beautiful.
I will definitely work on that. I will
Okay.
definitely try that. But yeah, it was an awesome experience to do that for her. And and like I said, we were together for 2 years, and we didn't a lot. I tell a lot of my friends, my guy friends, and I tell them, I said, look, man, it is possible for a man to be attracted to a woman and be with her and not sleep with her until you get married. Because I told them, I said, we're not doing anything. Some of them was like, that's good, good job, man, good. Some of them just couldn't believe it, like, no way, it's no way. Because they knew me from my past.
Mm-hmm.
They were like, it's no way. Yeah, right, man, no way. I was like, no, I'm serious. We did not sleep together. We did not do anything until we got married. And I mean, it was tough. And I mean, don't get me wrong, it was very challenging at
Yeah,
times.
I mean, yeah, wouldn't even misconceive that, but what I
Absolutely.
hear is the level of commitment,
Yes.
the level that's what real intimacy looks like when you are really filleting your soul open to someone and they are seeing all
Mhm.
aspects of you. So when sex does come under the realm of marriage, the
Yeah.
peace and joy in that connection, that covenant that begins in that union is so beautiful that you cannot even conceive of what if to that beforehand. So no, that is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it was a beautiful thing. I'm telling you, I couldn't even comprehend how awesome it was going to be. I really couldn't. And so we held on for those 2 years. We got married. I had a wonderful, wonderful 10-year marriage. Now that's not to say that I didn't get on her last nerve and she didn't get on mine. Because
Right.
that
You don't if you said marriage, you said somebody got on somebody's nerve.
oh yeah, I got on her last nerve. all the time. She got on mine, but
But what
you know,
marriage does is I'm not going anywhere. What
exactly.
marriage does, it shows your children what relationship looks like, communication skills, how to fight fair and unfair, how
Mhm.
to work through every challenge in life. When you say marriage, it's that covenant and that relationship you have with that person that is where you're putting each other first beyond anybody else and what that looks like. Nobody's floating on clouds. I mean, there's good times, but there's also challenges. But when you look back, you go, like, we hung in here with each other, and people quit for many reasons, but sometimes they may quit because just don't have the tenacity to stay in the long haul with the marriage and work things out. Because you have to make your it's when people say 50-50, I'm like, I don't even know how that works. But a lot of times it's like 20-80, you're putting that person before you
Mhm.
and you're there to make them happy. And the goal is to have somebody else that's doing the same for you, from my perspective.
And I agree with that 100%. I always say 100, 100. You both
Mm,
have to put in 100% of yourself into a marriage because, and I always look at it like this. If I ever, if she ever had an issue, if anything that was going on that she wasn't happy about that I did, whether I agreed that I did anything or not, it was still a problem. So we had to fix it
mm.
because we're individuals. I may look at something different than she did, and vice versa. So if I did something that I couldn't even comprehend, I did nothing wrong. She is totally wrong in this. I did nothing. I'm not apologizing. None of that. I was not that type of guy.
Okay.
I would say, look, okay, you're upset. Okay, obviously I did something to make you upset, and let's fix it right now. I was always someone who's like, let's just fix. Let's not wait. Let's just fix this now. So
Mm.
I would go there and find out exactly what I did, and I would just listen. You know, it was times I wanted to jump in and say, no, 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 I didn't mean it like that. You should know this. You should know what type of person but I would just shut up and just listen
Oh, wow.
and let her, you know, get everything out. And then I would, tell her my side and say, I didn't intend for it to sound like that, or I didn't intend to offend you. And can you forgive me? I apologize for this. And doing it that way, like made things roll over so much more smoothly. It was times I was like, I did absolutely nothing. I know she got an attitude, but I know I didn't do anything wrong. So, but I would still get to the point where I said, okay, if she has a problem, then there's a problem. So it
Mm.
doesn't matter what I think. I have to, we have to try to fix this. So that's how we, got through so many things. We would look at each other sometime and just laugh. We just crack up laughing because I knew she was upset about something and I was upset about something. We would just look at each other and we couldn't even stay mad at each other. We just start laughing and then we
Those
talk about
mm.
okay, and then it would work out. So
Those are marriage tips right there. Those are
yeah,
nuggets. Those are good nuggets right
yeah,
there.
absolutely. Because
Wow.
like neither one of us knew we weren't going anywhere.
Mm.
Like if she never passed away, we would be married. This year would be 16 years.
Mm.
It would
So
be 16 years for our marriage.
so let's go back to when Shanika passed. How can you whatever you want to share with us about that?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. What happened is we, you know, actually my our daughter was pretty much full
Okay.
term, and we were actually going to go to the hospital the next day actually, so she can. They were going to because we thought that she was going to be coming soon, like any day now. So we got with the doctor, we set up a time for her to come to
Oh, to induce
the
her labor.
induce her labor. Yeah.
Okay.
So it was full term, and she was ready to go. But Janika was saying she was like, you know what, I don't feel her moving in my belly as much. She had some concern about that, so we went to the doctor, And the doctor said, okay, well, I'm going to have you guys come back in a few days, and and we're going to, because this same thing happened actually with our second daughter.
Okay.
She wasn't feeling her as much, but our first daughter, Hannah, who's 12 now.
Okay.
Um, so, I mean, not that happened with Hannah, then with it happened with Aaliyah, and then with our third daughter. So what happened is we set up a time for her to go to the doctor, but she didn't make it to that time. She was really having some pains, and because she dropped me off at work, and I went to work, and then I get a call from her, like, I'm going to the hospital. I'm not doing very well. So I'm like, okay, all right. So I got a ride to the hospital. And once I got to the hospital, because mind you, she wasn't sick or anything.
Okay.
She wasn't like sick or nothing. So
She was
um,
healthy. It was just
she
another
was
baby about to be born.
healthy.
Normal.
No,
Okay.
another day, yeah. So when I got to the hospital, even my friend at the hospital, my friend that dropped me off, he was like, "All right, man, congratulations, man. I'll talk to you later." So I jumped out the car, was like, "Thanks, man," and ran into the hospital, and got with the doctors and everything, and they told me what was going on, and they said, "Okay, your daughter was stable, and we was able to get her out of your wife's womb." And then he said, "But unfortunately," and when he said that, I was like, "Okay, hold on, what are you talking about?" He's like, "We weren't able to save your wife," and I said, it just like really, really like caught me off guard, like so
Like you
many
just
things.
ran into the hospital. You're trying to find out where she is.
Yeah,
And
what she
just
is, where our
okay.
daughter is, and everything. So I'm like, okay, it's really like really caught me off guard. Like, hold on, what do you mean? Like, because I think I asked him that when he said we weren't able to save your wife, and I said, hold on, what do you mean? Like you weren't able to stabilize her? What are you talking about? And that's when the doctor told me that. Well, one doctor, the other doctors were like being really quiet. They didn't want to talk to me about anything, but that one doctor, first doctor I talked to, he told me that they believe it was she had just had a heart attack right there on the table.
Mm,
And I did learn that they said when a woman is giving birth, um, she's like so close, like that's the closest you think a woman comes to death without actually dying. And I had no idea of that until my wife and I was reading, studying, reading about it and everything. I had no idea that it was that serious. Like,
hmm.
so she did tell me about that, and they said that she had a heart attack right there on the table before they could even get our daughter out. So she went several minutes without oxygen
Okay.
to her brain. So she was born with brain damage because of that, because physically she was healthy. She was in the womb. It was a good pregnancy. Um, the whole time she was healthy. And, but they told me once I got there, they told me that they were able to stabilize her. They explained to me that she has brain damage because she went
Right.
several months without oxygen. And so, because honestly, it may sound sad to some people, but I truly didn't understand. I was ignorant to this. That I thought that even if the mother wasn't alive, the baby would still be okay. Because I'm thinking, okay, the womb is a whole nother compartment.
Okay.
But I didn't realize that if the mother stops breathing,
Yes.
baby can't breathe. I did not know that. And some people might say, "You, how could you not know?" But I truly didn't know that. I thought that, okay, it's just that's a whole nother compartment for the baby to live in. The baby is healthy. So that's what I thought.
And then also, James, you're in
Mhm.
shock. Your
Yes,
mind is it's coming fast and
yeah,
furious. You're still trying to understand she's dead.
yeah,
Oh
yeah,
yeah, and the baby, and it's a lot to
yeah,
come. So the mind is not even thinking logical. In
mm,
your mind, you're thinking, okay, that happened. This is separate, and it's hard for someone that maybe have not experienced trauma to this
yeah,
level to understand how you go from being a high functioning person to barely being able to put words together to make a
Mm.
sentence, to
Yeah,
barely have full thought process. You're like a zombie in your own body and needing to make some of the most critical decisions right there. So I can see how that thought process would come to be.
yeah. 'Cause, and it was it was just it was just like you were saying, it was just like so hard to put all this together. And I had so many thoughts coming to my mind. And I said, okay, hold on, like this can't something is wrong, something is going on, something is wrong. I was like, it's no way she should be dead. Like, did they make a mistake? Did they do something? Did they give her something?
Mhm.
To do this? Did they give her the wrong medicine? Or so I was just thinking all of this stuff. And so what ended up happening is they called the chaplain in, and the chaplain said, "Oh, do you want to pray?" And but I had this bracelet on, and this bracelet said it said the blood of Jesus in Hebrew, and the chaplain was like, he was like, I know some Hebrew, but I'm not quite all the way up on it. And what does that say on your bracelet? And I said, the blood of Jesus. So he was like, so you're religious? And I said, yeah, I'm a Christian. I'm a follower of Christ. And so he said, well, do you want to pray? And I said, yeah, sure, you can pray. So what I did is after he prayed, I went on and asked everyone to leave out the room. And I said, I just want to sit here for a minute with her. And that's exactly what I did. I sat there, and that's when I tried to negotiate with God, like, okay, all right, now, I mean, I can't do anything. She's gone right now, but you have the power to bring her back. If you could just do that for me, I would appreciate it. And I said, you can tell, I don't care what it is you tell me to do. I promise that I will do it. I won't procrastinate. I'll go straight to it. If you tell me to do something, if you bring her back, I will do whatever you ask me to do just for this. If you could do this for me. And I sat there and waited for a minute, and I'm just like, please just do this. Please do this. And as you can tell, it didn't happen. So I felt as I was sitting there, this is when I learned that peace is like a person, like a spirit or something,
Hmm.
because it felt like God was like right there with me, and I was in there because she looked like she was just taking a nap. She looked like she was just asleep, and I said, man, I felt this peace and this calmness, like it was so real,
Hmm.
just came over me. And I said, wow. And I had peace that day, that very first day that this happened. I had peace, and it changed my attitude. It changed my perception of everything. And, so what I had to do was I had to call family and start letting them know. I had to call her parents and let them know. And that was actually very tough for me to
Yeah.
call them, hear them in the background hollering and screaming and no, saying no, no, how could this happen? And then I called my family, and it was very difficult to do that. That hurt me more than anything, to call all of them. And and then when they got there, they said, how are you so calm? What's going on? Like, how then I said, God gave me peace, and he really truly did. Like, he gave me peace that I couldn't even understand at that time. And then the hardest part is I had to tell my daughters,
Yes.
but I didn't tell them until the next day. Might have been 2 days later,
Oh,
uh,
wow.
because I didn't know how to tell them. I said, I don't know what to do. And so I told my family, I said, nobody, when we were all in the lobby, I said, nobody say anything about Janika passing. Don't say anything, because my daughters wasn't even there yet. They were on the way. And I said, please don't say anything about their mother passing. I want to tell them myself. And everybody agreed to that. So nobody said anything. I took them upstairs so they could see their little sister. She was, of course, she was stabilized, and I want them to see their little sister, and they saw her, and they was happy to see her, and they was able to put their, in the side they had these little compartments you could put your hands
Mhm.
in, and those little rubber gloves you could, touch her and stuff like that. So they was able to do that, and so we went home the next day, and I believe it was another day after that. Um, and they were saying, okay, they was like, Daddy, okay, we can we go to the hospital? Can we? When is Mommy coming home? We want to see Mommy and see her. When are they coming home? And I tell you, oh man, I don't want to get choked up right now, but man, that was tough because I said to myself, um, I got to tell them, I have to.
Right.
So I pulled both my daughters together, and I said, you guys, you know, Mommy is she's not going to come home. And I said to Mommy, it was time for her to go to heaven. And I said that, um, Mommy was a good person and she lived life according to God's will. And
Take your time, James. Take your time. Hmm.
I apologize,
There
everyone.
is nothing to apologize for.
Yeah, but
Not at all. Not at all.
so I told my daughters, I said, Mommy, it was time. It was her work was finished. It was time for her to go to be in heaven. You know, to be with the Almighty Heavenly Father. And I said that when our time is finished, we'll be able to see her one day again. But right now, she's in heaven. So when I explained that to them, it was difficult. It was difficult for them. Now, my youngest, she was only 4. Yeah, she was only 4. So she didn't quite understand.
Hmm.
But as she got older, another year went by and another year. And one day she just said to me, she said she was looking at some of her pictures, her mother's pictures. And she said, Daddy, I'm about to cry. And I said, Babe, what are you gonna cry for, baby? What's going on? And she was like, because I miss Mommy. And I'm like, oh man. So I held her and we both was crying, and I'm like, Mommy's in heaven. So, one day we'll see Mommy again. But right now, You know, if you ask Mommy, would you come back here to this earth? Mommy say, no, y'all all right. You guys are taken care of. I'll see you guys when you get here. So that's how I was able to explain that to them. But like I said, I had to wait a couple of days before I could even tell them because I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how to tell them that their mother was not coming back. And I remember calling my dad because my dad loved Janika. My dad just loved her. And I remember he told me, he was like, boy, if I was younger, this would have been my wife. Like, he just loved her.
Yes, he's trying to knock you out the way.
Boy, this would have been, I would have got her. This would have been my wife if I was younger.
Oh,
So
oh my gosh, that's great.
yeah, so he just loved her. So it really hurt him when he found out. He was like, man, he just was like, son, if you, because he's in Arkansas. So, but he said, son, if you need to talk, if you need anything, you just let me know. I'm here for you. So it was a very difficult time, and I believe, yeah, I believe I told you when we talked previous to this. It was a time I was in. Um, it was a cold winter night, and I actually wanted to just scream. So I went outside and I was just going to let out this huge scream. And but I said, no, my daughters are hearing me there inside, and I just want to keep it cool for my daughters. And and the Lord showed me them in my mind. So I said, okay, I have to be strong for them. So it's like they are like my why. It's like
Mm,
driving force is them. Because you know, I used to be 360 pounds. I was huge, and I was unhealthy. I was eating like a pig. I was out of shape. Um, but and I remember my wife used to get on me like, James, we gotta get you in shape. She used to be all over me, like, but she still was stuck with my unhealthy behind through all. She still stuck with me. But was it was it really helped me thinking about them. I said, okay, their mother is in heaven. I don't want to be in heaven right now. I want to be here with them. I want to take care of them. So that's what helped me, excuse me, on my journey to lose the weight.
Okay.
And that really, man, it was just a driving force.
Thank
So
you for sharing that. Can I jump in with a couple of questions, James?
yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Yeah,
you may have not have experienced this, but I'm guessing in the process of you sharing, people may have asked a question that I'm about to ask or similar.
yeah,
You had amazing gift for God to give you peace instantly
yeah,
at the most
mm,
horrific moment, I'll say, in your entire life. And so your ability to lean
yeah,
into God is connected from that peace. What about somebody that doesn't get that peace and they're having to deal with this? What do you say to that person?
wow. I would say first off, accept. You have to accept what happened. Um, you have to accept what the reality of what you're going through. And I hope that I'm answering the question correct because you did cut out a little bit while you
Oh,
was
I'm sorry.
asking the question.
I'll ask it again. So I'll ask it again. So you had the gift from God of having peace instantly in the most horrific situation in your entire life. So
Yes,
your ability to trust God and to lean into and know He has you is already in the foundation that He gave you that peace.
yeah,
So the reality is your wife has died, but that
yeah,
God of peace that surpasses all understanding stepped in a way where you needed it most.
yeah,
So your ability to lean in and trust God was easier. But
yes,
what would you say to the person that didn't instantly get that peace and they're in the
yeah.
situation, the death of a loved one? How do they manage that?
Now, what I would say to them is you have to accept the reality first. You have to accept the reality that your loved one is no longer here. Um, then, after you accept that and realize that's the life that you're into now, you have to, if you desire to get through this, you desire to have a relationship with God, maybe for Him to comfort you to get some answers as to why this happened. Once you realize that your life has changed, I think once you realize that you can get to the point where you say, okay, my life has changed, my spouse is gone. There's nothing that I can do about that. And that's when you can say, Father, okay, I'm not the perfect Christian or a perfect believer, but can you help me to get through this? I need your help. And I would recommend for anyone to draw closer to God because, you know, it seems like for whatever reason, us as human beings draw closest to God in the most extreme circumstances, the most toughest, most trying times in our lives. That's when we want to draw closer to God. And that's exactly what happened to me. But I'm grateful that I did have a relationship with God before this. And I would recommend for anyone, because, I had another friend who lost his wife a couple years after I lost my wife. And my wife and his wife were friends. They grew up
Mm,
together. So that's how I knew him. And his wife passed away a couple years later. And he told me that he was like, I don't know how you do it. He was like, he turned to alcohol. He was just drinking and drinking. And I told him, no, that won't help you. That's a temporary fix. You need something that's more sustainable and, that you can actually live with. So what I suggest is that you draw closer to God, you pray, and you just ask Him to help you, because that's the only way that you're going to get through this. You can't just, try to fix it on your own. You can't try to fix this on your own. I mean, you can talk to people, get all type of advice like you're talking to me now, but ultimately, you need more. You need some spiritual. You need some spiritual help. You need the Almighty God to just really lay His hands on you and help you get through this time, because I have no idea where I would personally be if I didn't make that choice, because I had two choices. I could have drew further or closer to God, and I chose to draw closer, and I'm so grateful that I did, because and also I would tell them, find out why you're still here.
Mm,
Especially if you have kids. It's easy if you have kids. If you have kids and you love those children, that you can use that as an anchor for you to just stay still and just trust God. He got you here for a reason. I believe that none of us are here on accident. Like, God just said, "Oh man, I was supposed to take him out of this life a couple months ago. I forgot. Oh man, I forgot about him." No, I don't believe it. I believe that you're here because of a reason. So find out that reason, find out why, and you just live for that. Like I said, if you have kids, like my kids are my why. That's why I got up every day. I didn't give up. I worked out. Uh, you know, it was like they were like the driving force behind me just being a better man. I
mm,
said I have to be a better man. I have to be an example of what a man is for them. I want to be a strong, masculine man, but not too hard, because I want to, you know, show them what a man is, and when their time as they become young women, not to just settle. I want
mm,
them to use me as an example. Like when my dad was a hard worker, my dad would never hit my mother. My dad would never cuss my mom out. My dad would never say that or do that. My dad would open the door for me,
mm,
you know, and I want them to understand that. Because I told my daughter, I said, when you turn 13, I'm going to take you on your first date. I'm going to take you a daddy daughter date, and I'm going to make sure I open the door for you, take you to wherever you want to go. You can eat whatever you want, because I want them to understand, uh, what a man is. And, their mother was an amazing woman. She was absolutely amazing. And she was a great example for them. So I made it my business to always um, help them understand what type of mother that they had. Even though they were very young when she passed away, when she died, they was very young, especially Aaliyah. She was only 4. She'll be 10 in a couple of weeks. And then Hannah, in a couple of months, she'll be 13. So she's a preteen. So I, I got that dinner coming up for her soon. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that God gave me them, because they are the reason that gave me something to push forward to look forward to, and that gave me a reason while I'm still here. So I would always recommend that. Find out your why. Come to grips with the change in your life that your spouse is going, and seek the face of God. Ask Him to help you get through this tough time, and recognize why you are still here. Get yourself a why. That's what they say in the professional world and work. What is your why? And that's so true. You have to have a why. Why are you still doing what you do? Why do you want to do what you want to do? Why do you need to do what you do? Like, why? You have to find that. So that would definitely, I would recommend that for anyone. So
Thank
Yeah,
you. That was a very good explanation and some just to be able to have to chew on. One thing
yeah,
in particular, I like that you said accept.
uh,
You didn't say be happy. You didn't say be all these other things that are totally unreasonable. Just to accept the reality of this situation is the first place of saying, I have to deal with this.
yeah,
That this has happened. The negotiation is over. I can't change any of this. What do I do now? And that
yeah,
part, I'm also glad that you expressed how difficult that is to do, even in the peace that you have from God, because sometimes people give religious one liners to people that have no substance in that particular moment when they are actively grieving. And just accepting that, and for someone to know that that's all you can do at that moment, just get enough energy to accept it and then move on to try to figure out what is my why and your
yeah,
purpose because you are still alive. And that can be difficult, the reality of your existence outside of your spouse
mm,
and trying to determine what life looks like for me in their absence.
yeah.
Um, Another thing, a couple of things I'm curious about. Um, what has been your effort in keeping your wife's memory alive for her children?
Well, I remember for the first 3 years, we still got a cake, and we got a cake for her on her birthday. We sang happy birthday, but I got to the point I said, okay, we can't do this forever. And I asked my daughters how they felt about this. And I told them, I think we're going to stop doing this. We're not going to do this every year. And actually, I wanted to see what they were thinking because I learned through this whole process that kids are much stronger than we give them credit for. I'm telling you, they were stronger than I ever could imagine. I was just blown away. Like these kids are really strong. Like they really they dealing with this like troopers. Like this is
Mm,
amazing. So I talked to them, both my daughters, and my oldest, Hannah. She's a very intelligent young lady. I just love my baby girl. She's so intelligent. And Aaliyah, I love my baby girl. She's intelligent as well. And Hannah wears her glasses. Like she's like the prototypical. When I was a kid, we called nerds
hmm
because they got their glasses. But she's not a nerd. She's just very intelligent. And Hannah, she was like, I said, how do you feel about this? Uh, Continuous? Do you want to continue to do this, or you just? And then she's like, she said, okay, I think I'm over this now. I think I'm over it. She said, I used to always think about mommy all the time, but now, I'm getting over it. I don't think about mommy all the time. Some days I think about her, some days I don't. And then I said, okay, that's good. That's good because we can't just stay in this. We gotta get through it because life is changing. Life will change. And then I don't, my youngest daughter, Leah, she kind of like echoed what her sister was saying. But I was like, I wasn't sure if she was just echoing what Hannah said or if she really felt that way. But I believe she felt the same way. And I told them, I said, okay, guys, I came to the conclusion. I said, we're going to stop doing this every single year because your mommy has moved on. She's in heaven. She's happy in heaven. And that's what our faith is. Of course, nobody can say, I know for 100% sure what happens when you die. That's why we call it faith. And I have faith that she is in heaven. I have faith that she's happy. I have faith that my third daughter Sarah is there with her mother and happy. I really like 100% believe that. And I told them that, and I explained that to them, and they were happy about it. They this is what they wanted, But like her family, they want to keep every single year. They want to go to dinner. They want to say happy birthday. They want to cry and all of this stuff. And it's like now her parents are different. Her parents, they kind of like me and the girls. They trying to move forward. Um, but all of my late wife, her sisters are mad. Like, why are you guys trying to move forward? We need to just mourn this every year, year after year after year. But I was explaining to them like we got to move forward. We have to. We can't stay in this because life changes. And I that's something that I tell people that reach out to me from my YouTube channel. I tell them you may not be able to see it right now because you're fresh in this. It's just happened to you. And you're reaching out to me because I've been through what you're going through. And I tell them, I've heard this before, but I thought it was just crap. I was like, yeah, right. That someone told me that time really does heal wounds, heal our wounds. And I believe that now because I realized that over time, you started to dealing with what you're losing a spouse does get better over time. It's not like you're not going to just get through it in a couple of weeks or a couple of months, but as the years go by, it really does heal your heart. You recognize that this person is gone. I have faith that they're better off now than they were than they were here. And it's time for me to live my life. I have to move on because I remember when I talked to my late wife about this actually before she passed when she was still alive. We talked about our futures if one of us passed away. And I told her, because me being the man, the husband, um, the husband never thinks that his wife is going to pass before he does. As a man, we always think we're the protectors, we're provider, we're the leaders in our household. We have to make sure our kids are set up, our wife is set up, and that's how we think as men. And I said, okay, you know, I have to make sure that they're good. Forget me. I don't care about me. I just want to make sure that they're good. But I never imagined that it would happen the other way around. And my wife, I had to talk with her, and I said to her, I said, we got insurance. I got insurance through my job. If something happens to me, I told her, I said, this is how much you guys will get. And this should really be a blessing to you. So if something happens to me, you're still young. You guys will be taken care of financially. And I want you to move on with your life. I don't want you to just mourn me for the rest of your life. Just I could see you mourning me, but shortly after, just move on and just I'll be in heaven. I was telling her all of this stuff. And then she said the same thing. She was like, you know what? If I pass away, I want you to move on. I want you to get remarried. I want you to be happy and not to sit up and mourn. Because at first she said, I told her that's what I wanted to do, in the Janika humor. She was like, you would want me to do that? I was like, yeah, of course, move on and get remarried. She was like, well, you better never get married. You better mourn me for the rest of your life. And then she said, no, I'm just joking. She was like, of course, that's what I want for you as well. I want you to move on and get remarried and just have a happy life. And she just, because I told her that only thing I would want her to do is make sure that you let my daughters know how much I love them and
Mm,
how much I give anything for them. And she told me the same thing. She was like, you let my girls know the type of woman that I was and how much I love them and how I would give anything for them. So as long as you do that, we'll be good. So I said, okay, to honor her legacy, because I feel that my daughters, that's her legacy, them.
yes.
So I said, I'm going to let them know every chance I get how awesome of a mother that they had and how she truly was dedicated to her family, how she was truly, truly dedicated to her faith in Jesus Christ, and the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. She was truly, truly dedicated because of her dedication. That helped me draw closer to God, actually.
Mm,
Um, so I'm very, very grateful for that. Like I said, she was a singer. She was, she would be singing for people like Fred Hammond and all of them singing for them, and she, you know, that it was like she had this light. She had such light that was just shining. And, I want to just keep that. I want my daughters to understand that she really was a great woman. And she was a great example to them of who a woman should be, how a mother should be. And I'm just grateful for the 10 years that we had. And I remember after she passed, I was having a very difficult time. This was about like I said, maybe 6 months, and this was I was having one of those moments where I was just crying like crazy. I took my daughters to school, and I came home, and I was just letting it all out, just letting it all go, just crying and screaming and hollering. I was like, my neighbors probably could hear me, but I was having one of those moments, and I said, Father, if you could just help me out and take my desire away to one another woman, I'd be happy. Because I said I had 10 years. I'm almost 40. I'm good. I don't. I'm good. and and I said that's 10 years is good enough for me. If you could take that desire away and I never get married again, I'll be happy. And the moment it left my mouth, I knew that was foolishness. So I said, okay. So I said,
You like, never mind. I didn't mean that.
yeah,
Hold on.
yeah. I was
Okay, hold on, stop. I'm gonna take a commercial break for a second.
like,
All right, I'm not gonna let you move on to that. We're gonna go back to a couple of things. You
yeah,
got me all off target. Okay, I wrote down a couple of notes.
yeah,
One, I love, 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 and I don't use that word haphazardly, that
yeah,
you allowed your Aaliyah and Hannah to communicate what
yeah,
they wanted.
yeah.
So many times people don't recognize a child's needs.
Mhm.
And instead of you just assuming we're going to stop doing this and move to this,
Yeah,
you said, Hannah and Aaliyah, what do you want? This is your mom. We're in this together. And sometimes it's so hard. Grief, the loss of a spouse and a parent is devastating. And so many times we just want to do things, but you're in it as a family unit. And I hope that someone picks up on that, that it may be hard to have that conversation with their child, but to ask them, communicate with them, and see what their desires are. I just wanted to circle back to that other thing you talked about. And my children were adults when Mark passed.
yeah,
But when you have young children, even though you communicated with them, you also allowed space for your grief to happen rawly and outside of their presence, because being daddy to them and father to them is different than you missing the love of your life, this woman that you spent, and you needed time to do that. And I've heard people, like you said, outside, like, okay, they may hear that, maybe not there, but when they went to school, when you were home, maybe in a car, I've heard people in the shower, that you cannot prevent yourself
yeah,
from grieving and dealing with your emotions in this loss, because if not, it will spill out to drinking or
yeah,
other things that will hurt you. That pain has to leave. Just like we receive the love, their
yeah,
absence has to be honored. Something else you said that um, is very difficult when people grieve differently and
yeah,
they want you to grieve how they're grieving.
yeah,
That we have to learn to respect each person's grief process and not dictate that theirs has to show up the way that another person's does. As
yeah,
far as between the family members, um, obviously this is not the package you wanted. You wanted the package where we grow old and we close our eyes at 90 and hold our hands and slip off
yeah,
into eternity.
exactly.
But that's not what you got dealt.
Yeah,
So it is hard to manage when people are so passionate, so adamant about the death of a loved one, and the way that you're handling it is different. That can rip people apart. Families can be destroyed, and it is important to be able to respect how someone's grief is different than yours. It can
Yeah.
be hard. Any recommendations for people dealing with that? That one person wants them to grieve this way and they're doing that. How are some ways that you found to manage that, or any top thing to talk on that?
Yeah, I suggest communication. I suggest, maybe having a sit down and just air it out. Everyone let it out, and you um, allow everyone to have their moment. Let everyone talk, and you guys sit there and you take mental notes if you don't want to write down actual notes, and you learn why you feel this way, and why you want to, um, why you do what you do, why you feel the way you feel. Some like because that's actually happening with my late wife's family right now. Her parents, they want to move forward. They want to move on. They're very, I guess you could say, religious as well. They really into the Lord. They serve at their church,
I hear
and
more relationship. Sometimes when I hear religion, I feel like somebody to put maybe a facade of
yeah,
this religious connotation. But when I'm hearing what you're talking about as you speak about God or other people, it's a relationship with your
yes,
creator.
absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what it is, a relationship, because I know, and I know with all my heart that if I didn't have a relationship from the start before this happened, that I wouldn't be where I am right now. I really wouldn't, because it took a relationship that I had before this for me to even make a choice. Because I knew that I had to make one choice: either draw closer or draw further. And I chose to draw closer. I knew I had to do that.
It's like that Y on the road. It's like when you're going and you know some choices may be kind of light, but this decision is really going to take when I'm trying to go one place. If I take this, I'm never going to get there because I have no support. I'm in this heavy place. I'm in this place of no recovery, or I'm going to guide towards what it, even though it's hard, each step is very difficult. I know I have a better chance of success making that. And that was a huge decision to say, to be mad and people and be all these things, or I accept it, and how do we deal with this?
Exactly.
That's a huge turning point.
Yeah, because I was just talking to my father-in-law just recently, actually a couple of weeks ago, and he was expressing that to me, and I'm like, man, it's tough that you guys are having to deal with this. And I said, that's what I suggested to him. I said, maybe you guys should just have a sit down and just talk and just let all of this air out, and learn why do they feel the way that they feel? Why do they feel that you are being um, insensitive? Um, it's like they want you to continue to mourn. They want you to stay sad. They don't want you to move forward. That's how he feels.
But you know
And
what? Mourning just looks differently. You
yeah,
will always mourn her. They will
absolutely.
always mourn their daughter. But something and I'm a ducktailing to something you mentioned about, and I'm a challenge to unpack this a little bit more. The idea that time heals wounds, or what we
Mm,
do during that time that the
yeah,
wounds are healed. I'm coming to believe that just letting time elapse doesn't
yeah,
do anything. But as that time is going, the active choices that you've made in this grief process creates the space for healing. Because
ab-
someone that time elapsed and they're just drinking and just upset and doing drugs, they're muting, they're never talking about this person.
mm,
That 10 years can go by where this other person, 10 years, they're talking, they're opening up, they're actively partying. I don't know if those 10 years equate to just equal to healing. What would you say looking at it that way?
you know what? That is exactly right. You saying that actually helped me understand better. You know that comment that I made, because what you do with that time, time healing the wounds, is what you do with that time is will determine if if and how fast you get through this. So you are 100% correct, and that is the truth, 100% truth. That will definitely determine how fast you get through something. And it's not a race. You're not in this to I got to get through it at this time in my
We wish
life.
there was a fast button to
I,
get past.
yeah,
Hit the fast
sure
button,
do. I wish I would have hit that a couple about 10 years ago. I would have
right?
hit this today. But yeah, it's what you do with that time. Um, and that's what really matters is what you do with that time. Like you said, you don't want to turn to drugs or alcohol. Like I said, I had a friend. He turned to that. That's what he
Because
did.
the pain is so heavy
Exactly.
and we're trying to numb it. We're trying, you don't want to experience. So if you can have something that will take the edge off, and I ain't mad at nobody. I mean, I talk about when my husband died, my mother handed me her first whiskey sour. I was like, yeah, it's kind of bad, but
Yeah.
my liver can't live like that forever. There's a part of me that in that shock, you need to learn how to manage that. And if you stay there on that long path, there are repercussions of
Yeah.
that in this body that cannot handle. I just wanted to talk about the time thing because I know sometimes if we make a statement and we really don't unpack it, somebody will think, well, 10 years have gone by and it is still just as horrible as it
Yes.
was the day it happened. And I would encourage them, like you're doing, to talk about it. It seems too painful to talk about it, but it helps more than people can ever realize. Do you connect with other widows or widowers before you did the YouTube thing, or was that how did that come about for you?
No, I didn't. I didn't connect with anyone. But I tell you, doing the YouTube and people reaching out to me, telling me their stories, that actually is like helped me tremendously.
Okay.
And I would tell them that I said, man, talking to you helped me. You wanting advice from me is helping me get through this. And so it's like having someone to talk to is essential, in my opinion, to be able to get through a very tough time. Losing a spouse is big because I had people that reach out to me that they would tell me, they would say, I look at your videos, I haven't lost a spouse, but we went through a divorce, and it almost feels like I lost that spouse because you know my husband left or my wife left, and I never looked at it like that. I looked at it like you have to, to feel the way I feel, you have to have lost your spouse. But that changed my perception a little bit. And I could see where they were coming from. And I thought about it. I said, wow, I guess that would feel like a death because
Yes.
that person left you. They don't ever want to be with you. And, you know, those people, I have a young woman that reached out to me and told me that her husband left her with the kids and everything. I'm just like, and he doesn't want to be with her. He doesn't want to be with the kids or anything. He just wants to just start over with his life. And I'm
Mm.
like, that is horrible, man. I just felt horrible for that woman. And I definitely, prayed for her. And I said, man, I didn't know what to say. I'm like, what do you say about something like that?
You find out in this journey the
Yeah.
depth of grief in so many different ways. We may have been introduced to it by the death
Yeah.
of our spouse, but
Yeah.
you make a solid point. The reality of grief is impacted in so many different ways that one really would not ever understand. And it makes you have a little bit more understanding for people and their hardships than you would have ever had before
Yeah.
this experience. I feel as if that's something that I've taken away with that I didn't have in a level that was before. I know we've talked a lot. Um, and I feel like it's a good conversation. When people reach out to you, how does that work? Do they message on your YouTube, email you directly, Facebook, or what are different ways to connect with you?
They'll just email me because I try to remind people here and there on my videos. I'll put my personal email in the description. And I
Okay.
let them know, look, if you guys have any questions or any concerns, you want to reach out to me. My personal email is right underneath this video in the description. So just reach out to me, send me a message, and give me a couple of days, and I'll try my best to get back to you.
What is your
And
email address?
it's James D Price 313 at yahoo.com. So
Okay.
that's JAMES D as in dog PRICE at yahoo.com.
Okay.
Yep. So
Well,
I
some
just
of
take,
this will be audible and they may not see that. On the blog, it will be in the contents of the podcast also. I know this has been a lot of conversation. Do you normally on your YouTube, is it a monologue where you're talking, or do you have other people that you're speaking with? How have you done it so far?
no, it's just me. It's
Okay.
just me talking. It's just me talking. That has been suggested to me. Like, have you ever reached out to other YouTubers or just other subscribers, just anybody to see if they want to come on with you? And I have not done that,
Okay.
but I want to do that. I was supposed to have a guest one time, but it fell through. It didn't happen, but that's something I'm looking forward to doing. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, see, yeah, I can have you on.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, I can have you on for sure.
Thank you. Couple more questions.
Yes.
If you were to pick any time in your life and you could go back and talk to James,
Hmm.
what age or era would it be and what would you tell him?
I would tell him, like, during my marriage, I would tell him to always to be patient with himself and with others, and to there's always a different point of view besides your own. Um, because I was prideful, and even to this day, I don't like listening to people. I don't want anybody to tell me what to do. I want to make all the decisions and control everything. But that's not a good way to be. You can't be that way because there's always someone who knows more than you. There's always someone that could actually help you if you just open yourself up to it. And so I'm learning that. But I would definitely, during my marriage, go back and tell him to just be patient and understand that there's more than just um, how you see things. Is you have to see things through other people's eyes at times. You have to do that. So that's the advice I would give. I think that would help. That would help me a lot if I heard that. Uh, I don't know, 10 years ago. That would have helped me.
Okay, I erred. I said two more questions, but as you
Okay.
were speaking, I forgot about one other. So the second part of my ending question is, what gives you joy?
What gives me joy? You know what? My children. Honestly, it's like that gives me joy. When they're happy, because I'm a playful dad. I'm one of those dads who's just playful. I make jokes with them, and they I think they enjoy that. But as they're getting, I know that they're getting older, and they're probably not even going to have anything to do with me as they get older, and that's fine. I understand. I know it's coming because I have girls, and they're going to be dealing with boys and all that type of stuff. Um, but you know, I that does bring me joy. It brings me joy to know that my hard work is taking care of them. You know that I'm. It gives me joy to know that they have a roof over their head and clothes on their back and shoes on their feet. They have food in their belly. They have a place to lay their head when they go to sleep at night, and that they don't have to worry. That brings me joy. Like, man, I'm doing something right because my daughters, my babies, they're okay. And that brings me all the joy in the world. It really does.
Wow, you have created a different life for your children than you grew up in,
Absolutely.
and that sounds very important to you.
Yes.
But I want to go back to the commercial break that you made. So you were praying and you told God,
Yeah. Yeah.
I almost forgot to come back to that.
Yeah.
So does that mean you're open to a relationship or doing something when you prayed that, or what does that stand for you? What does that look like life going forward?
Yes, absolutely. I'm actually dating a young woman right now.
Okay.
Dating a young woman right now, and like there was some women coming at me like,
Oh, they come strong, but they be like,
oh
woo,
my
somebody available. It was like, rah.
they were, and I'm just like, man, I'm like, you guys got me feeling like I'm like Usher or somebody. Like, what's going on? Y'all coming to me like I'm a celebrity or something. I'm like, my goodness,
Like, it's like
man.
he put together. He out
Yeah,
here talking right. He looking right. He a
yeah,
good dad. He got a little job. He's like, I can see me with that.
yeah, exactly. That's what they. I'm like, my goodness, they were. And I remember my pastor. He called me. Was like, yeah, I want to meet with you. If you can come to the church, let's have a meeting. And I arranged for us to get to, with my job. I went out there and met with him. We had a meeting, and he was asking me. He was like, he's like, do you know that you're going to be a hot commodity, right? And I knew what he was talking about, but I said, no, not me, man. I didn't say this to him, but I'm in my mind, I'm thinking, yeah, yeah, right, sure. People know I was just married, and yeah, that'd be a whole
No, they
mess.
bringing over the pudding and the pies and the
Yeah,
cakes and like, hey
exactly.
brother, how you doing?
That's exactly what happened. He was told me, he was like, no, they're going to be coming. I'm telling you now, I've seen it time after time. They are definitely going to be coming. And sure enough, he was right. They were coming, and I wasn't ready at the time, and a lot of people, couple of us, maybe about 3 or 4 women that was really they were coming like with everything they had, and also
Are you trying to say aggressive?
yeah, they were exactly. I'm like, okay, they were pretty aggressive. I'm like, okay, and I'm telling them like, okay, you know what? I'm not ready. I was like, maybe if you just give me some time, we'll see, but not right now.
Okay,
I'm not.
so how soon did somebody start coming?
Wow, probably about 6 months. It
So
was literally,
disrespectful.
it was like literally like 6 months. They were just, they were just. I'm like, okay, but I remember talking to my brother about that. He was like, man, you know what? They probably looked at you in a certain way before your wife passed. They probably,
I guess so. Wow. It's
yeah,
like you don't want to think about that. It's like,
yeah,
no.
yeah. And I thought about that, like, you know what, he might be right because I'm like, I don't know how that fast you can. I don't know. I would feel uncomfortable personally if I was in their shoes. I would feel uncomfortable. I wouldn't even if I thought the person was attractive and it would be cool to be with that person. There's no way I could bring myself to the point where I was like, I'm just gonna shoot my shot, see what happens, and see what happens. Because
Not in 6 months. So
yeah,
so
not
how was it being dating? What does that look like for you? And how did you know you were ready?
you know what? I actually didn't know I was ready yet.
Okay.
But I'm telling you, I was one day I saw this young lady, and actually, she goes to the church as well. She knew my wife. I mean, they weren't close, but she still knew her. And I saw her one day, and I said, "Oh man, I never noticed her before." And I was like, she's kind of nice looking. I mean, she's like a really genuine person because she serves at the church just like I do. So we pretty much serve in the same capacity.
Okay.
And when I saw her, I said, "No, I'm not ready." I said, "That's just the devil trying to mess me up. The devil is a liar." That's what I was saying. I think there's no way I'm ready. So I just like blew it off and just kept on just living life. And then maybe a couple of months later, I looked at her again, and I'm just like, "Okay, hold on, what's going on?" I was like, maybe I'm just gonna let her know. So I just stepped to her and just let her know. It's like, I think you're
You
attractive.
shot your shot.
Yeah, I shot my shot. She was like, wow. She's like, are you serious? I was like, yes. She was like, wow, this really catching me off guard. I had no idea. I was like, I, I didn't either, but it is what it is. She was like, okay, well, maybe we can hang out sometime, go on some dates, get to know each other, and we'll see what happens. So
Nice.
I was okay, gave me some confidence, like, okay, I got this. I still got it, you know? So, you know, as of recently, like the past year, we're like dating, we're exclusively dating each other, and we're getting to know each other. We're becoming friends.
Nice.
Um, so I know that she's the one because she said that I heard from God regarding her. She told me the same, and she was like, the only reason that we're still doing this because I heard from God regarding because I I kind of got on her nerve one day, and I can't even remember what. I know she was upset with me about something, and I was like, okay, this is kind of like marriage, getting, when you're in marriage, you're going to get on your spouse's nerve. I mean, there's no way around that
Right.
uh, because you're individual, so that's what's going to happen. So I was okay, this is kind of cool. So I was apologizing. I sent flowers to her, like I apologize. I was wrong. My bad. I think I assumed something, and I was just totally off, and so she was
You
upset
came
with
with a
me.
good cleanup though.
Yeah, yeah. I sent like 3 dozen. I
Oh
had
my.
yeah,
You
we
came
brought
in
them to the
strong.
store. Yeah, I had like 3 dozen of candy, some flowers, and a bear. I had them send her a bear. So all of that was like, she I think she texted me back was like, I got your flowers. So
Well, at least
thank
you
you.
didn't send it to, like a
Yeah,
picture in the trash can or anything like
yeah. Oh, that would hurt. That would have hurt. She went on and accepted my apology, and so we're just getting closer, and so I'm thinking probably by this time next year, uh, we may maybe get married. So we'll see.
I
But
think
yeah,
it's
but
just
it's a while.
beautiful. No,
Yeah,
because I love the reality that just like you have space to love Hannah and
yeah,
Aaliyah, we also have space to love again and
absolutely.
continue to do that. That is beautiful. I'm excited for you. I mean, I shared with you when we spoke that I got remarried in February.
Yeah,
Um, and I would have never thought possible to the level my late husband and I were together 32 years. You
yeah,
spend 32 years with somebody, you're like, how can I even like imagine somebody else? And God, and it was just so organic and so easy. And I was like, wow. One other thing I want to ask, and then we're going to wrap up for reals, for reals. You spoke about something about planning that
mm,
you and your late wife had a plan, like not if something happened, but the inevitable that one of us will not be here.
yeah. Mhm.
What recommendation or kind of what planning did you make? Because people don't always have to have a GoFundMe for a wedding. If I mean
Yeah,
for a funeral, if we do some planning, life insurance, little things, it doesn't have to be horrific. No one has to walk away as a millionaire, but there are
mhm.
some things that we can do to protect our loved ones in the
Absolutely.
inevitability of our passing. What would you say or recommend for that?
I would definitely recommend life insurance. You can get life insurance as little as I don't know $10,000 just to cover funeral expenses, because that's literally how much it costs. Uh, I mean, and that's
And I'll
that's
just say ish. It depends on how elaborate you are, what you're doing, but
yeah,
10,000 gets you in the door. Yes.
yeah, absolutely. So, I would definitely recommend that for people because you know, unfortunately, in our community, our people just unfortunately don't really haven't really caught on that in life insurance is very important, and you should that's a way that you can even leave something for your family.
Yes.
If you leave, if your spouse, your wife leaves, at least you can leave something for your kids. And I told you about how my wife wanted us to have life insurance, and both of us have life insurance, and I kept just blowing it off like, yeah, we'll sit down and we'll go over it. We'll go over it. She got tired of me just blowing it off, and she just got it. She just went on and got the life insurance. I'm so grateful that she did that because, you know, I wasn't. I dropped the ball on that. So I definitely would recommend that people get life insurance because it is It is, I mean, money is not everything, but we need money. It's very essential for you to live in this life. You have to, you know, things cost. You can't live for free unless you're like a kid or something. You can live for free then. But as an adult, you have a lot of responsibilities and it costs money. And to bury someone costs money. So you want to make sure that if you have life insurance, you're able to bury that person and honor them in the way that they deserve. And you also, will be able to take care of some other things that you may have to take care of because, you know, you're already dealing with enough with losing that person, and you don't want to have to deal with financial hardship as well. You
Yes.
don't want to. You should want your family to have to get a GoFundMe um, to pay for your funeral. You know, you shouldn't even want that. So I definitely would recommend getting life insurance because life insurance, man, I was so grateful that my wife stepped over me and she just like, I'm going to get this because you keep playing. And she got that life insurance because that was a blessing to my daughters and I.
Thank
It
you.
absolute blessing.
Yeah, because
Absolutely.
you go from two incomes to one. You go from having to make all these, you still have the same life, a
Yeah.
style that existed in trying to manage that. And people are challenged to hear your grief, let alone your grief and economical struggles together.
Yeah.
Thank you. I am so honored that you allow me to be able to have this conversation and share your journey. I will allow you to wrap up. Maybe there's some things you thought you wanted to talk about, maybe we didn't go over, or closing comments. Is you can close us out.
Well, I'm honored to be talking to you right now. I'm grateful that you allowed me this opportunity. And one other thing I do want to say is um, a lot of people reached out to me that lost their spouse, and they say that they want to hear from me and learn from some of the things that I've been through because they said they have family members who are coming to them and telling them what they should be thinking, what they should be doing. And these family members never lost their spouse. They're not even married, but they're trying to tell them what they should be doing and how they should be doing it. And they rather hear from someone who has gone through what they're dealing with right now. So I suggest that you know don't beat your family members down if they are trying to tell you what you should be doing. They love you, so they want you to get better and just understand that. But it is good to have someone you can talk to that's been through what you're going through, and that's why I'm grateful that you allowed me to do this. I gave people my email address. Just reach out to me, and I will help anybody that I can. Some people reached out to me, and I actually gave a couple people my actual phone number and we would talk and I would help them as much as I can. I learned that I can't do that with everyone um, because there were some women that I was literally trying to help um, that was trying to get on.
They
You
were trying to
know,
shoot that shot. You was trying to
they
be,
sure
you were just
was.
trying to be some help, and they was trying to help themselves.
Exactly. So that did catch me off guard, and that almost had me to the point where I said, "Okay, I'm done helping. I'm done."
Oh, I'm so glad that didn't derail you.
Yeah, because that's exactly that. I said, "Okay, I'm done. I'm not going to even help anybody because I'm really genuinely caring about people and I want them to get better because I know what it's like. But that like you said, derail, that's the perfect word. That almost derailed me trying to just help people. So I stuck with it and I didn't let that stop me because it happened twice. But you know, I'm just grateful. I'm grateful for this opportunity. So thank you for allowing this to happen and you've been through everything that I've been through, so you know what it's like. So thank you for starting this podcast, for starting your foundation, everything. So you know I commend you for that.
Mhm. Thank you. What is your YouTube channel? and on Facebook. Okay.
You can just type in Minister James Price,
Okay.
and I should pop up as soon as you type that in.
Okay.
Yeah, and you'll be able to see some of my videos. Like my older videos is the one people like they get a lot of views. People reach out to. I get so many comments from the older stuff that I forgot that I even made. I'm like, what? Like 1,000 people look at that video. Like that's crazy.
But it's
Um,
not because those were the very genesis of your
yeah,
walk,
yeah,
and there are not a lot of men out um,
yeah,
giving themselves to this conversation and people to be able to resonate with that. So that
yeah,
means a lot.
absolutely. Yep. Yeah, check me out. If anybody can go and look at it, look at the older videos, the newer videos, and I just pray that it's a blessing to everybody. So, yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Thank you for having me.
That was a really good conversation. James did not hold anything back. There were so many good nuggets in there that I know you will find encouraging. I am sorry for the person that has died that drew you to be connected with us, but I am so glad that you are part of the widowhood. I know that your story is pretty interesting also. So please email me at widowhoodrealtalk@gmail.com. I want to share your journey. I want to encourage you. Check us out. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Thank you for spending another episode with Widowhood Real Talk. If you found the contents of today helpful, share the episode to anyone you know who may need it. Subscribe to the show and tune into Widowhood Real Talk each week. Then visit widowhood-realtalkwithtina.org to join the community and access additional resources. Remember, you are not alone in this journey.